Excellent. Hello. I was going to say good evening. It is for me. It is not for our special guest today, which is Jim Kellner. Jim has got himself out of bed. He's on the west coast of the United States. That's correct, is it not, Jim?
It is. Yes,
Excellent.
I am.
Thank you very much for joining us and talking to our membership. If I may, can I ask you to give us a quick pen portrait of everything that we need to know about you?
Absolutely. Yeah, I've been a hypnotist professionally for about 12 years. I do hypnotherapy, and I also do stage hypnosis. And lately, I've been moving more into doing training and for the general public, doing seminars, and then also for hypnotists at conferences. And I'm also starting to produce my own conferences.
Fantastic. Now, am I right? I had a quick look at your webpage, and your first attempt at what could be argued as stage hypnosis was on your sister. Am I thinking of the right story there?
It's funny because people will say, I looked at your website, but seldom do they actually read it. You did read.
I need to get out. I need to get out a lot more often. But yes. So tell us, will your sister mind us listening in on that story?
No. So I was one of those kids that was always into weird stuff. And I think I find a lot of us are come from that place. And so I was always kind of just investigating the stuff that other people weren't. And I mean, I was checking out books in the library when I was in middle school, early high school. I don't know what you guys call it over there, but education school.
We get enough North American influence to basically be able to ride across. So,
okay, cool. I wish I could say the same. I don't think we. I don't think we. I'm always being surprised about Great Britain and UK, and I don't even know what. I should just shut up because I don't really know exactly. I'd have to look it up again what the UK is, and anyway, let's just move on.
It's in a period of transition at the moment, so I think if you would ask the same question in a couple more years, it might not be what it was today. So.
Exactly. So I was always checking out books on weird stuff. And I mean, even like meditation and yoga back when I was in school, those were weird topics. Only, hippies and monks did either of those. And one of the topics I came across was hypnosis, and I kind of investigated it. And then when I was about 17, 18, something like that, I actually checked out a book from the library, and I got my little sister. She's about 3 years younger than me. She's about 15 or something. And I've got this candle lit, and I'm going, okay, and look at the candle. That's right. You're getting sleepy. And I don't know if it worked or not because I didn't really know what to expect. And she was a great sport. So that was my first attempts at actually doing hypnosis.
Excellent. And so we were talking before I hit record on this. Was there a prompt prior to that? Were you familiar with hypnosis and or hypnotherapy prior to getting the book? Or was it just wandering through all the weird sections and stumbling across it?
You mentioned Scooby-Doo, and I'm thinking, I used to watch Scooby-Doo. I might have seen it on an episode of there. I can't think of a specific time when I remember like going, oh, that's hypnosis. But I tended to wander through. I can still remember the Dewey Decimal System numbers. It was the 796. It was all the books in the 796 section. So we're talking, it's crazy too, because they lump us in with tarot reading and the UFOs and all that stuff. Yeah. And so that's probably where I discovered it. I'm not sure exactly.
796 is probably better than woo-woo.
Right,
which
exactly.
a lot of it kind of gets.
Exactly.
Are you doing it to me now?
Right.
So awesome. So as that was your exposure, and then at what point did you decide, so getting into being trained as a hypnotist, I'm going to ask you a little bit about the stage and the hypnotherapy contrast from a personal perspective in a second, but so where did you train, what did you train in, and why did you decide that was something that needed to happen?
Boy, it's I was going to massage school at the time. And I'd been wanting to do this. So there was like one of these like weekly magazine or like newspapers that comes out. It was the Alternative Press type of a thing. And they always had this ad in the back. And I always see this one, hypnosis and NLP training. And I kept going, oh, I really want to do that someday. And finally I just did. And I called her up and it was just a woman that was running classes out of her house, and it was called Hypnosis and NLP Dynamics. And she was very upfront that she was really only teaching now because she was trying to earn money to put herself through acupuncture school. And so that probably should have been like a yeah, exactly. Yeah. That probably should have been like a red flag. I don't know. Maybe I want to get somebody who's really into this field. But anyway, I went ahead and I did it, and it was a very short. It was like the 100-hour type thing where it's spread out over 6 months. And I mean, really, I'm sure I did learn stuff, but I don't know if it was good training or not. I just know that afterwards I wasn't really comfortable. I think with a lot of us when we first get out there, that I mean, even really, and I should have known this, because even with massage, like none of us felt like we were ready. But it's like one of those things where you just have to jump in.
Yeah.
There is no ready. You're probably never going to feel ready. Yeah. Right? Would you say the same?
Yeah. And I should have probably said this up front. I was a sports massage therapist for 16, 20 odd years. Oh, and yeah. I was just kind of wondering whether that helping people, and I think when you're doing body work, there is a sense that it's naive to separate out the mind-body connection. And completely. So maybe that's just the connection for us on that journey, is to go, I had one guy, and he was basically saying, it's terrible. And then I found myself just peeling those layers of what that meant, NLP, right? And then when you start getting into just the little suggestions about, and is it more comfortable over here, then of course we're just working with trance. Right. So interesting. So did you follow up that training? I mean, did you then go into the stage training, or did you go therapy training next?
Well, oddly, I didn't even go to I didn't even start doing hypnotherapy because I just didn't feel like I was ready. And there were some things like I was going to class, and my the other students would work with me. I'm still smoking, and I'm going, well, this isn't working, because and I still was kind of on the fence. I'm like, does this stuff really work? Does it not work? Is it legitimate? Because it was in the 796 section, with magic and tarot and everything else. No offense if you're into tarot reading, folks, but so that's good for you. But anyway, moving on again. Let's see. Where's that? So anyway, it was probably 9 years later. I was just in a really bad place in my life. And I was desperate, and I just decided I was almost 300 pounds, and I was still smoking, and or actually I'd quit smoking by then at least, but I was mostly unemployed. And I started listening to McKenna.
Paul
McKenna, right. I just started listening to his recordings that I bought years ago, and I'll be damned if it didn't start working. And I started listening every single day. And of course, not everybody is going to have those kind of results with a recording, but I was pretty in the right place for it to happen. And I was doing it every day, and I was taking some conscious mind choices too, going for a walk every day, meditating every day. And I mean, within just a very short amount of time, I dropped like 50 pounds, and I said, wow, I bet I could help other people with this. And that's when I actually started working for a company, and they had their own in-house training. So I was very fortunate. The first place I worked at was a clinic that actually hired hypnotists, which is very rare in our industry, as you know.
Yeah, amazing. So if I may, then we've got the stage. My question, I think, is probably most interest for me around that is that, and you mentioned this yourself, there's often the kind of, I'm okay with stage hypnosis and I'm not okay with stage hypnosis. And you clearly are. How do you find people perceive the crossover of those, the therapy and the entertainment part of it?
Yeah, and so it was about 6 months into actually being a full-time hypnotherapist. A buddy of mine that owned a comedy club asked me if I wanted to start doing hypnosis shows, and I said, yeah, let's do it. I find that, there's good and bad. There really is. I do know, sadly, people will come to me and they'll be like, well, if you can make me think I'm, Taylor Swift on stage, then you can make me quit smoking, very easily. Just wave your wand. And I'm like, it's not. And I try to explain to them, look, I can make you think you're Taylor Swift. Well, not you, but like maybe 10 to 20% of the population, really, that they're Taylor Swift for an hour. The next day, you're not going to wake up thinking you're Taylor Swift. So I can certainly help you quit smoking for an hour. No problem. But tomorrow you may want to, unless we do these other things, and we do a little bit more structure to of a session. So I do think that there's the good side and the bad side. I think the good side is that most people's first kind of exposure with hypnosis is a stage show or on TV or a movie or something. Of course, as you and I both know, I don't believe there's maybe one or two movies ever that have portrayed hypnosis correctly, even remotely accurately. And most of the time they make it scary. So that's kind of bad. But I mean, it's honestly, it really is a tough thing to navigate. I think it's good in one way that it gives more people exposed to hypnosis. But of course, on the bad side is it gives them the wrong idea about hypnosis.
Yeah, I think I heard a quote from Paul McKenna, who you mentioned, so we'll get into that. And he said he had done a great smoking cessation program with a client and was walking down the street and saw the guy smoking. And he was like, what happened? I thought it worked. And the guy said, yeah, it was brilliant. It was brilliant. And then I wondered what would happen if I had a cigarette.
Yeah,
and that's exactly. Taylor Swift, right? It's like, okay, if you can completely go there and be that, that's if you want to be the best tennis player in the world, imitate the best tennis player in the world, and eventually you'll overtake them. But it's I wonder what's going to happen if I have a cigarette now that I've stopped. You can do the maths on that. So within your clinical practice, do you have an area of special interest? Is there something that kind of really fires you up to get going in the work?
I've kind of figured it out now, and it took me a long time. And I was very much a generalist. I just wanted to help everybody, which I don't necessarily recommend as far as marketing goes. You really should just pick one thing, and you can still help everybody, but only choose one target. But what I decided what I was going to start doing was I was going to try to target the person I was before I started my journey. And that was a really easy thing. So it was the person that really felt like they were a loser in life, and that they just didn't get the handbook that everybody else got. And, and that's really what I tried to go for. And now I'm even a little bit more working with people that kind of have it all, basically have it figured out. I worked with a couple of clients, and it was fun. I worked with this one guy, and he just wanted to talk about what might be possible because his friend had done hypnotherapy for weight loss, and he was in great shape. He's like, I mean, the guy played guitar. He meditated. He had a real estate company that was like making tons of money. And I'm like, and at the end of our consultation, I was like, I don't think I can help you with anything. For lack of a better word, you seem perfect. And he goes, I do feel like things are going really well, but you don't always know what you don't know.
Yep.
And so what we discovered in working together was that he had some problems with relationships and some things like this. And so there was some help there, but it was great working with somebody who was like, no, when you say to do this thing, it's on my list. I do it every day, whatever those things are. And that was really kind of marvelous.
That's amazing. Now, forgive me. I know you have a book out. I'm not familiar with it. Is that what you cover off in your book? Sorry, and for everybody that's listening in here, do you want to hugely name drop the book and where people can find it?
Yeah, it's Navigating Success. I don't probably by the time you listen to it, it won't be re-released. It's being re-edited. So me and my colleague, a friend of mine, we put it out about 5 years ago, and then we ended up pulling it because it was embarrassingly bad editing. There were typos like on the first page, really. There was just, and at the time it was kind of like, we want to get it out there because we want to start helping people right away.
Yep.
But then you start going, well, but people are going to read this and they're going to think you're a jackwagon, that you don't know what you're, unfortunately, we do make determinations about people based on their spelling and grammar and typos and things like that. So we pulled it. I'm not sure. I did have it re-edited recently, but I think I'm probably going to wait till my new book comes out. So it may not be until like spring or summer that book's even available. I'm hoping my new book is available within a month or two.
Amazing. And will it be available online in a digital format for folks that are over here?
It will be. Yeah.
Excellent.
Yeah. And it's called Your Life Sucks. Here's Why and How to Fix It. So it's very specific on who it's targeting. So if your life doesn't suck, and it really is, it's written for that guy. That was me 15 years ago. Like, dude, your life sucks. Read this book.
And so you said that was who you were targeting for clients. I'm guessing that's not a rapport building approach to go, your life sucks, unless they're already kind of thinking that, and they may have mentioned something along those lines in the first place. But
Right.
Sometimes I find the biggest barrier is the acknowledgement from the clients. I always applaud and congratulate anybody who's brave enough to come and talk to me, because that's a huge step. So, I mean, is that, he's talking from experience there, that, jokingly saying, hey, your life sucks, is a really useful avenue. Do the people that you're targeting get that?
It's funny you mentioned that. And I want to go back just 1 second too. If anybody else is watching this, because I just want to say, if anybody's watched this, if they end up messaging me or something, or getting through Alan, I'll be happy to send them a PDF of my first book, Navigating Success. It's all edited now, so I just don't have it released yet, but I'll be for free, no charge.
Sure.
It's mostly got all that stuff that we want to tell our clients. The whole focus was here. If I could give this to my clients, then I don't have to explain everything to them about reframing and all that.
Yep.
So, God, I'm sorry, I lost your question. What was it again?
Oh, it's more or less just, how do people feel about you telling them or acknowledging with them?
I don't tell them. Sucks. You know what? And that's funny you say that, because as I'm thinking about it, I think that at least once the book is released, I think I want to take a more in your face kind of approach with that. Right now, it's been more subtle. The title just occurred to me one time. I was just driving around and it occurred to me. But I will tell you, in a writing group that I'm in, somebody said, hey, that sounds a lot like somebody else's book. And I was like, what? And some guy, he was a funny guy. I haven't read the book. Well, maybe I did read the book way back in the 90s. That's when he wrote it. But it was like, it's a little bit more tame, but it's something like, does your life suck? Here's what you need to do, or something like that. And I was like, oh, there are no original ideas, I guess. Probably it was floating around in there.
Yeah. And maybe, the time has come. That's what they say, isn't it? When the student's ready, the teacher presents. So providing opportunities.
I think that's good. That might be the way that I go, though. I might, because I like the idea. It's in your face, and it really is self-selective. Like, if your life doesn't suck, don't read this book. Give it to the person whose life does suck.
Yeah. His name escapes me at the moment. Famous radio personality. I think he was West Coast based. And those sort of words would come out, and that's more explicit versions of those words would come out of his mouth. And it's just immediately, there's an audience out there for people who almost want to shout it in their face. So one of my questions, my standard is, what future areas would you like to explore to enhance either yourself or your practice? So where's the growth for you?
I'm looking at, so I'm getting to an age where I start thinking a lot about what I'm going to do when I get old and can't work anymore. And and I don't know what it's like I'm sure it's better in the UK, because I swear everything is better in the UK except the food. No kidding, just kidding. I haven't been there yet, so. But as far as I won't have much of a retirement. I'm not as far as the government plan, I've mostly worked for myself since I did massage. So we're talking a lot of years of doing that, and not doing a good job of investing. So I'm thinking of what can I do now to kind of help me in the future. And so I'm looking more at writing more books, creating courses. As we talked about before this, I'm working on conferences and things like that hopefully someday I can mostly manage, and other people can do the grunt work that is so time consuming.
Yeah. So perfect segue into conferences. You mentioned two, not necessarily available remotely. But would you like to tell us about those two conferences you got lined up?
Yeah, I would love to. And I got to tell you, so one of the things I love about being a hypnotist is that it just opens up so many vistas. Right? When you have that title, it gives you so much credibility, and your training, because you have so much knowledge now about how things work. It sets you up perfectly to be an author, a course creator, to put on conferences, events, seminars, all these different things. So you don't have to be stuck either on the stage or working one-on-one. One of my passions is stage hypnosis. I mean, I love it. It's the best feeling in the world. And so as I was putting together another conference, I found that a lot of hypnotists were not able to attend that conference or some other conferences because of the timing. And so I said, what, wouldn't it be fun if we had basically a worldwide hypnosis summit for stage hypnotists, and then decide to include street hypnotists, mentalists, and even people that do like talks with hypnosis and like demonstrational type stuff. And then even for hypnotherapists that want to get kind of polish some of their skills, because really, if you're a hypnotherapist, you may not realize just how powerful this stuff is, honestly. You know, when I can make somebody, when I can make them, you know, make them their feet stuck to the floor, for instance, it's amazing. And you go, wow, this stuff really does work. And if anybody wanted to get on that, it's the performinghypnosissummit.com.
Okay.
And so really easy to find. And we're still looking for speakers. I don't know when this is coming out, but probably for another week or two. And then it's March 11th and 12th. Again, all online. Oh, and actually co-producing it with Grant Saunders, who is a UK hypnotist.
Interesting. Okay.
Stage hypnotist. And then the other one, the Pacific Northwest Hypnosis Conference, is a new regional conference here in the US. And we actually have Carl Smith, a UK hypnotist, is the keynote speaker. And that's June 3rd and 4th. Mm-hmm. And yeah, we got a lot of great speakers lined up for that as well.
Amazing. And that is so Pacific Northwest. Are we talking Washington State for that?
Yes, right. You're right. Washington State near Seattle. And that one is PNWHypnosisConference.com.
Okay. So that's for perfect cue. That's for the coffee drinkers amongst us.
Yeah, exactly.
Seattle, the home of the resurgent coffee industry.
That's right.
So yeah, and nip across the border and catch a little bit of Vancouver while you're there. So
yes,
you could plan your holidays around it, really, couldn't you?
Yeah, and if you did come, go to Victoria. It's one of the most beautiful cities I've ever been to, and that's in Canada as well.
All of that and travel advice.
Right.
So with both hats on at the same time, the crossover. So given that the membership is hypnotherapist, or emphasis on the therapy, do you find that you bring the performance side into therapy? Can you see a crossover as something that people might be interested to tune into a stage hypnosis conference?
Yeah, absolutely. And so, well, one of the things is, I think one of the better ways for us hypnotists to get business is to do talks, whether you do funny stuff or not, even just demonstrational type stuff, doing, getting the audience to do finger magnets, for instance, or buckets and balloons, can really kind of show them the power of their imagination. Yeah. And then if you can bring somebody up and actually do like a rapid induction and have them fall into you, that's going to blow some minds. And so we understand as hypnotists that there is a difference, and there really is. And I've seen there was some research that showed that the hypnotic phenomenon is not, it doesn't guarantee therapeutic, how would we say it? Therapeutic progress, completion, whatever. Anyway, for instance, so if somebody can do finger magnets, that doesn't necessarily mean that they're going to be able to, a great candidate for quitting smoking, for instance.
For sure. Yep.
But it is impressive to audiences. And so, yeah, I think if you can learn to do that, that's impressive. But also I've had people come to me in there and they'll be like, like maybe we do a session, hypnotherapy session, and they get some okay results. But the next time they come in, they go, you know what? I know you do that stage stuff. Could you do the stage induction on me? That first, whatever. Can you do the stage kind of a thing? And I'm like, oh yeah, I'll bring out the big guns for this. Yeah. And then I get dramatic with it, right? And I'm like, that's right. And close your eyes and feel them locking tightly. And for some people, they love it. And then they're just like, oh, that was amazing. That was so great.
Yeah. And words that are popping into my head are the convincer. So some people will need a lot more convincing than others. And the gentleman that taught me hypnotherapy was a big Bruce Lee fan. And one of the Bruce Lee quotes is, be like water. So fit the vessel that you're in. And if you've got somebody that needs a huge convincer, a dramatic convincer, then that's a really handy tool to have in your arsenal. If you don't mind, I have one of my standard questions to finish up with, which is comparing hypnotherapy when you started to where it is now. Anything that you've noticed in the change? I wonder if being on the west coast of the US is a brilliant place because they're more open to 769. Did you say 769? Did I get those numbers the right way around? The woo-woo section of the library.
Oh yeah, so 796.
796.
Right.
And so I wonder if there's been not much change in the West Coast, or whether you've noticed anything, and almost any ideas or directions that you feel we should or could be taking as a therapy moving forward?
Yeah, that's a great question, and you're right. So here on the West Coast, especially where I'm at, Seattle, I'm in a big city, and that makes a big difference anyway.
Yep.
But also, it is a kind of a more liberal area where they do embrace like new ideas and things like that. And so, I would say that hypnosis, hypnotherapy is more respected, or at least kind of not frowned upon.
Yep.
However, I will tell you, in the same time period, and I won't even talk about time periods, but I'll talk about regions. I moved down to Phoenix, Arizona for a while, which is a very kind of a conservative area, and it's also very heavy Catholic. There's a lot of people from Mexico that have lived there, even before it was America. Anyway, it's a lot more frowned upon down in Phoenix, and maybe not as much in Phoenix, but the surrounding areas.
Right.
The smaller towns especially. And I'll tell you, a really good example is I have never had to do, the only time I've ever had to do student waivers when I do a hypnosis show is in a small town in Arizona. They wanted to make sure that, the parents had to sign off to say it was okay for their kids to get hypnotized, which I know is different in the UK anyway. We can actually hypnotize kids on stage. Most states here have no requirements about hypnosis at all, which I don't think is a great thing.
Right.
It does give me a lot of freedom.
Wow, amazing.
So I haven't noticed it over time, but what I think that we could all be doing is really being more active on. This is one of the things that drives me crazy when I'm working with students, is being more active on social media. And you don't have to like be out there shouting, "Hey, look at me, come buy from me," but you can share the research. You can share, nice quotes and stuff about just being positive and things like that. Yep. Just letting people kind of understand that hypnosis isn't this scary thing, and it is a legitimate thing, and also getting the message up. For some reason, even though we know that there's been research validating hypnosis for decades, I still have people that I'll do a consult with, and they go, I just had one that was like, she goes, well, I'd feel a lot more comfortable moving forward if there was just some research to back it up. And I'm like, what?
Yeah.
There are so many research studies. So if that's all you did was just share each research study that comes out, validating hypnosis, I mean, that would help our profession so much.
That's a really good idea, I think. And looking for different avenues again, because, student teacher analogy again is that different people need this information in different ways. And possibly somebody like yourself, that classic thing, oh, hypnotherapy, are you going to make me quack like a duck? Right. To which, of course, my standard response is, I don't understand what you mean. Quack like a duck. It's like, no, I'm not getting it. Show me.
Yeah, exactly.
Quack, quack. Like, no, I'm not going to get you to do that. It's those type of things, isn't it? It's just normalizing and making it accessible. And like you say, some areas and perhaps some backgrounds, cultural backgrounds may have more barriers to it, but I agree, and that's part of why we put together this webinar series, is just to start showing different forms, and we're going to be talking to some people around being on the receiving end of it, less necessarily about the therapists themselves, because command cross is completely normal, so it's quite nice when the therapists are getting a profile and they are just accessible people with a care for, like you say, recognizing that you weren't where you wanted to be all those years ago, and that you could have still been there in effect. Because stopping smoking is hard, and dropping weight is hard, because most people have committed quite a bit of effort and time into being that person.
Right. It's true.
So
right. It's a good way of putting it.
Yeah, I heard a great story about a lady he was my strength coach at the gym, and she went in and said, "Oh, is strength training good for skiing?" He said, "Yeah, it'd be amazing. We'd get you doing loads of knee bendy stuff and hip straightening stuff and get those muscles really strong. Then you can ski harder and you can ski for longer, and you'll be more refreshed and able to go the next day." He said, "Just out of interest, when are you skiing?" And she said, "This weekend."
Right.
So just that type of stuff that yeah, you've been committing to this eating program or this smoking program for 20 years of your life. So we may need more than just one to turn that around for you. But yeah,
right.
And we're on the same page, basically, is let's all kind of get out there and support the cause, which is supporting the other therapists. And I think probably, again, for the divide of supporting anybody, even if they're a stage hypnotist, to go, yes, we can do that, but there's a different process. And this is probably what's going to map out best for you. Jim, it has been a pleasure talking to you. Thank you so much for the time. Would you just, I know you said it earlier, can you just run through those websites again for where people, if they want to get in touch or have more information about the conferences, and also to track down your book?
Absolutely. So performinghypnosissummit.com. And that's where, if you have any kind of interest in learning mental, and one of the things, like for a hypnotherapist to be doing a talk at like an organization and being able to pull out a mentalism trick would be pretty cool to get people's interest. So performinghypnosissummit.com. And then if you're willing to come over to the United States and hang out with your fellow Brit, Carl Smith and maybe a couple other ones, that's the Pacific Northwest Hypnosis Conference in Tacoma, Washington, right by Seattle. And that's pnwhypnosisconference.com. And then the book, honestly, you'll know everything that's in it because it's all the stuff that you've been trained in, but it's you just send me a message, jim@jimkellner.com, and I'll be happy to send you a PDF of that.
Brilliant. Until it comes out. I mean, you held your hand up to the editing challenges there, but to me, it's yes, we might all know that stuff, but it's just a different way of phrasing it. Can you often be what we need to unlock another idea, access to a client. So for people that are watching, I'd absolutely encourage, hopefully you'll be swamped. So thank you very much for your time and for joining us. And we should probably stay in touch. This has been fun.
Absolutely. It was a pleasure. And I got to say, Alan, I love your haircut.
Simple. You go with simple, don't you? I had a time when it would grow back, and I used to cut it away, and now I miss the option. There's no amount of waiting around changes it. But yes, I'm loving the style you've got there as well.
Yeah.
Brilliant. Thanks, Jim.
Freedom is what it is.
Perfect.